Yeah, sometimes most of the time I usually don't, but I know it helps you, so I forget.
Yeah.
Usually don't. Okay, so we have 6 hangers with 6 dresses on them. We have to order them. So our first rule says the gauze dress is on a lower number hanger than the polyester dress. What did you do with that rule? How'd you write it out? What'd you do?
I did G-P.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really not much more to say about that rule because G is always going to be on a lower hanger than P, which means has to go on that side, P has to go on that side. So perfect. And then again, we can stretch them as far apart as possible, or we can have them touching each other as long as they're in that kind of pattern. Second rule says R is on hanger 1 or hanger 6.
I did R and then like -1, 6. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's just go through the rest. Rule 3 says either the wool dress or the silk dress is on hanger 3.
So I did W and then S at the bottom. And then like with 2 lines pointing at 3. Yeah.
Okay. And number 4, the linen dress hangs immediately to the right of the silk dress.
So I did S, L, and then the square.
Yeah, because they can't be.
Immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't be split up. So as far as like starting off making worlds, which rule did you kind of start looking at first?
So first I put R in 1 and 6.
Okay. Yeah. Good place to start. The other thing I want to say is you could also start with rule 3. They kind of have the same options. It's either one or the other. R is in 1 or 6, W or S is in 3. So if you started with either of those rules, I think those are good starting points. So we'll do R. So we have one world where R is in 1 and one world where R is in 6, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're not thinking about R anymore. What'd you do from here?
And then I did the world 3.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to look at them individually because world 1 is different from world 2, right? So world 1, we can have W in spot 3, or we can have S in spot 3. So that's why I'm going to make a copy of 1 and have W in 3 or S in 3. That's when we're making the split, is we can have 2 different options. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I was getting confused on that.
The other thing that you can do if we're talking about like, shorthand and stuff, if I'm looking at the rest of my rules, W and S don't show up in any of my other rules. So they're not like connected to any of the other rules. It's not like we also have to make sure L doesn't touch W or anything like that. So what you could do, you don't have to necessarily split that up. What you could do is do W/S in our spot 3 and know that I'm going to have to pick one. And it's kind of like when I think we've done this before, where we do our slash when it can go in one or the other, we have to pick one or the other. Same kind of concept, except we're just going to pick one and the other one just kind of becomes our floater. It goes wherever it wants because we don't have to worry about keeping S away from P or W away from G. It doesn't affect any of the other variables. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that can condense your worlds.
Okay.
So we'll do that. We'll just leave that there. 3, don't have to worry about 3 anymore. What'd you do from here?
From here, I went.
Oh my gosh, we do have S.
Oh, with S and L.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I woke up from a nap, so I'm still groggy. But we could still do the same thing. You can still put W and S here. And then when you talk about S and L, you can then see, okay, does it affect anything else that I have here? And if it does, then you can break it up again. I'm going to break it up again because we do have another S. But at least you can see how we could shorten it if we wanted to.
So with that being said, since we do have S,
Mhm.
could I have like combined those rules or no? Because S and L is together.
You could. It would just kind of look a little different.
Yeah,
So
like
it would be something like, I'm going to say this is my third spot, right?
yeah.
So I could either have W here or I can have S here. And if if S is in that third spot, we would then know that L would have to be in that fourth spot, right?
Oh,
So I
okay.
mean, you can kind of combine them into something like this, but it's not like the same as how we usually combine rules where
Right.
like it creates this chain. It's just kind of creating this assumption that you're going to have to make regardless.
Right. Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, let's not do that. It'll get confusing.
Yeah, it's not like a regular combination that we usually see. And that's because it's the or. W or S is in 3. So not always is L going to be in 4. That's why you have to split them up.
Okay.
Okay, so you said you were looking at the S and L rule next. What'd you do with that rule?
So for 1, I can put S and L in either 4 or 5,
Mm-hmm. Where else could it go?
and it can also go in either in 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So from here, I'd put S and L in world 1 for 4 and 5, and then make a new world, right?
Yeah, because there's 2 different options.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. S.
Yeah, and then S and L in 5 and 6.
What about world 2?
For 2, I can do S and L in either 1 or 2,
Or
or it can go in either 4 or 5, and that is all.
yeah. So you could shortcut this, and I wouldn't have expected you to see this because this is kind of a little something that I don't think you would have realized unless you've done quite a few of these games. Is SNL is in a box, right? We can't separate it.
Right.
So it's either going to go in that section 1 and 2 or the other section of 4 and 5. Once we place our S and L, the only other variables that we have to worry about is G and P, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when we're looking at world 2, no matter where we put G and P, we're not able to separate them, right? Because
Right.
even though G and P in the original rule can be separated, the way that our world is structured in world 2, we can't separate them. So what
Yeah.
you could do is you can shorthand it to say something like SL, I'm going to box it. G is always in front of P. I'm going to box it, and I can flip them.
Okay.
It's a little more advanced than I would expect you to see that because it's not something that we usually look at. But you can shorthand that.
Okay.
Do you have a preference? Do you want me to split it up or do you want to keep it like that?
So if we were to leave it like that with the little like sign to where it can flip flop, that means that we don't have to create a new world, right? Okay.
Yeah, the caveat to that is, and we can go over some of the questions. If a question had said something like, if P is in 2, which one of the following could happen? We still have to remember that we could look at this world because G and P can flip with S and L. So that's where you're going to have to do a little bit of that mental gymnastics is, okay, I'm going to remember or sometimes when I would do like the actual test, I would put like lightly draw over P and G in 1 and go, okay, well, S and L are going to be in 4 and 5. So when you go through the questions, the answer choices, if an answer said S is in 4, that could be a correct answer choice.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
So
I guess just so I can understand it for now, can we just create the new world?
yes. Do you see what I mean by like shortcuts are nice, but there's that catch that you have to remember. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then in 3 and 4, what'd you do with L?
For 3 and 4, I only can put L in 4.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we don't have W. I was like, we're missing variables in 3 and 4. It's because we haven't touched W. Okay. Last rule that we have to go through to eliminate is that GMP rule. So we kind of already touched on it, but what happens in world number 1?
So G can go in 2 and P in 6.
Yep. What about number 2?
G in 4 and P in 5.
What about world number 3?
So we're missing W, G, and P, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess if we start with G and P, G can go in 2, right? And it can also go in 5 or 6.
Can G go in 6?
No. Well,
What does it have to be before?
it has to be before P.
So if we put G in 6, are we able to put
Oh,
P
that's right.
after it?
No, you can't. We couldn't fit P.
Yeah, we need an extra space.
Okay.
So
So it'll only be 2 and 5.
yeah. So this is one of those other places where you could shorthand it as well. So I'm going to show you how you can shorthand it. And this is kind of where like you're down to like the last rule. You only have a few more variables left. If you can do the mental gymnastics, what you could do is literally write it off to the side, G before P, and W is a floater. So when you look at your worlds and your questions, you go, okay, G can mentally go in 2 and 5, and then you can kind of drop in your variables as they are. That's more mental gymnastics. And if you're not able to do that, that's fine. But I wanted to show you how you could shorthand that one.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
Can we just write it out?
Yeah, let's write them out. And then because we've never done questions before, let's go to the questions after this one. And then I can kind of show you how you are going to use your diagrams, and you can see how sometimes the mental gymnastics can be kind of tricky.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, especially when like, what are we on? World 3? Yeah. Sometimes like even I will still write out worlds to their full extent because like I just woke up from a nap and my mind's not mentally prepared. Okay, so if we've placed G in 2 and 5, what has to happen in number 3 with our P and W?
So for P, it can go in 5 or 6. And so that means that we would have to create another world, right?
we can do a shortcut, and you will be able to do this one. Where else, what other variable are we missing? We're missing W, right?
Yes.
Where can W go?
W can go in either or in 3, right? But S is, so it can go anywhere?
I'm looking at that third world. I don't know if you're looking at the third world.
So W can go in 6?
Could go in 6, could it go in 5?
Yes.
So P and W can go in the same spots. So it doesn't really matter, or I guess I should say, like, we're not forced to put W in 6, we're not forced to put P in 5 or anything like that. So what we can do, instead of making another world, we can do something like this, P/W. So then when we pick one for 5, let's say I pick P, I know I'm going to be forced to pick W in 6. So that prevents making another world. And that, in my opinion, is an easier way of like mental gymnastics than, the other ways that I've been showing you, because you see both of them in the same spot.
Okay.
I have faith that you can do that. Okay, let's drop down to 7. When G is in 5, we've got P and W left over. Where do they go?
P would go in 6. And then W in 2.
Yeah. So when we come down to like the last few, or when we've eliminated all of the rules and we still have floaters, we can write them off to the side. Or when it comes down to this, where it really doesn't matter where we put everything else, we can shorthand it like this.
Okay.
So prevents another world from being made. Let's go into world number 4. We're still working on our G and P rule. So what can I do with that rule for number 4?
It can go in, so G can go in 1 or 2.
Yeah, because if we put it in 5, we don't have enough room, right?
Right.
So we'll do one where G is in 1, G is in 2. What happens in world number 4 when G's in 1?
P can go in either 2 or 5.
What about my other variable, W, my last variable?
It can also, so you do P/W.
Yeah. The other way you can look at that is, if we know that P has to come after G and there's nothing in front of G, like there's no spots that I could put P in front of G, wherever I put it afterwards is never going to violate the rule. So I don't really have to think about that rule anymore, because I don't have the possibility of violating the rule. I can't put P in spot 0 or something like that. So anywhere on this timeline, I could put P. So it just kind of becomes another floater.
Right.
What about 8? Where do my variables go? W and P.
8, P can only go in 1. Wait, no, I'm sorry. It can only go in 5.
Yeah.
And then W would go in 1.
Yeah. What about 5?
For 5, G would go in 2. And P in 4.
Yep. And last world, what about 6?
G in 1 and P in 2.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's always easier when we do it together. I had like, I don't know, like 16 rules.
Okay. Yeah, this one this is about average. I would say it's on the more like a more heavier side of worlds, but like this is what I usually say, 5 to 8 on average per game. This is a typical game. So, yeah, this I think would be really helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the other way you can think about it is if I put P in 2 or P in 5, nothing changes. So when we think about where we can put our variables, we're splitting the worlds because we have 2 different outcomes, right? 2 different things happen. But when you put P in 2 or 5, nothing's affected by it, if that makes sense. Because when I think about where I can put G, P is going to be affected by it. If I put G in 1, P can go wherever. If I put G in 4, P is going to be on the end. It affects where P can go.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I had anything else. No, I think it makes sense now.
Okay. Let's go over some of the questions so you can see how these diagrams are used and why we spend so much time on these diagrams. Because there is a purpose, and it's usually my favorite part of tutoring. Okay. So, do you have the game on your end? Do you need the game?
Yeah, I have the game.
Okay. So let's go over question 1. Question 1 is what we call a list question. This is what you're going to see on pretty much every single game as a number 1 question. It's basically asking you what's a possible world, essentially.
Okay.
Rather than going through all of your worlds, because you have 8 worlds right now, rather than going through all of them and trying to figure out, do I have A, do I have B? It's a lot easier to go through the rules and go, okay, does A violate one of my rules? So for example, if we're looking at rule number 1, G is on a lower hanger than P. If I'm going to go through all of my answer choices, I'm going to make sure G is on a lower hanger than P. So A, G's on a lower hanger than P because G's in 2, P's in 5. We're good in B, G's in 3, P's in 6. C violates it because G's on a higher hanger than P. So C violates my rule number 1. I can rule out C.
Oh,
so going through the rules that way and attacking the question in that way is a lot more efficient.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, G is on a lower number than P. Okay.
So
yeah,
go through rule number 2 and make sure, or I guess tell me which one we're going to cross out because it's violating rule number 2.
Okay. So R can only go in hanger 1 or 6. So 1 or 6. Okay, so A is okay. 1 or 6. B is also okay. C is okay. And so we're gonna eliminate E.
Yeah, because it's on 2, right?
Yes.
Let's go through rule number 3. W or S is on the 3rd hanger. So we're going to go through our answer choices and make sure that that is not being violated.
Okay. A, B, and E are wrong.
Wait, say it again.
So only C and D can be correct because they're on, because W is on 3.
What else can be on 3 though?
Oh, either the wool dress, or the silk. Okay.
Nah.
3. So A, number 3. So B is wrong?
Yeah, because we don't have either W or S on number 3. G can't be on 3. That's not a possibility. So we can cross off B.
Okay.
Last one says The linen dress hangs immediately to the right of the silk dress.
Okay, so it's SL.
Yeah, so we need to make sure our answer choice has SL.
So D is not right.
Right. And I'm not sure if you caught why C was wrong. Look at your first rule.
Oh yeah, because G is supposed to be lower than P.
Yeah. So what does that leave us with? That leaves us with answer choice A.
Okay.
And that's our correct answer.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to go through this kind of question, is by using the rules, eliminating the ones that are wrong. Now with the list question, what's really nice is if you're still uncomfortable with making worlds, if we have selected the correct answer, we have done our worlds correctly, that means our correct answer is going to show up in our worlds. So it shows up in world number 8. Our world number 8 is answer choice A.
Oh,
Kind
okay.
of cool, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good way to check that you at least have one of the correct worlds. And if you're stuck between like 1 or 2 answer choices on a list question, you could then use your worlds to check your answer choice.
Oh, okay. So it would be easy to go by the rules to answer the question just because we have so many worlds, right?
In this question, yeah, in our list question, everything that follows it, much easier to use our worlds, and we'll go over that. But in our list question, much easier to use the rules.
Okay, I see. Cool.
Especially if you have made 16 worlds or something.
That'd be crazy.
It's a long time because you have to go through each of them and make sure, okay, where do I have one as wool? Where do I have one as gray? And like double check all of the, it's long.
Yes. Okay.
Let's go to question number 2.
Okay.
It says, if both the silk dress and the gauze dress are on odd number hangers, then which one of the following could be true? So this is what I call an if question. It's giving me a restriction. Kind of think of it like another rule. It's only talking about the worlds where S and G are on odd number hangers. So the first thing we immediately need to do when we see that if is we need to locate in our worlds where that if is happening. So in 1 through 8, where do we have S and G on odd number hangers?
Both of them, right? On odd
Yeah,
numbers.
both of them.
S and G. So it could be 4. S and G. Or 7.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah. So it's not that all the other worlds are no longer usable. They just can't be used for this question. So when we focus on this question, we're only allowed to focus on world number 4 and world number 7. So it's kind of like we're putting our blinders on everything else. But once we move on from this question, we take those blinders off. Does that make sense? Okay. So this question is also a could be true question. It's asking us what could be true, what's possible. Think about how like flexible and soft that sounds, I guess you could say. So when we're looking for what could be true, it just has to happen once within our worlds. So long as it happens once, that's all we need for it to be our correct answer choice. So when we go through our answer choices, we're going to ask ourselves, can we make it so P is on hanger 1? Can we make it so W is on hanger 2? If we can make it, it's going to be our correct choice. 4 out of the 5 we cannot make happen. So can we make answer choice A happen within these two worlds? Can we make P on hanger 1?
No.
No, because it's not happening. It's either G or it's R, right?
Mhm.
A is wrong.
Okay.
What about W on hanger 2? Can we make W be on hanger 2?
Yes.
Yeah, and both of them, right? Doesn't always happen as our correct answer choice, but in both of them, we could make that happen. So I like B, we're going to hang on to B. Let's go through C, D, and E and see if we can make those happen. Can we make P on hanger 4?
No.
Nope, it's going to be L.
Mm-hmm.
So C is wrong. What about L on 5? Can we make L on 5?
No.
Nope, it's either going to be P or W or G. D's wrong. What about E, W on 6? Can we make that happen?
No.
Nope, it's either R or P.
Mm-hmm.
So B is our correct answer choice.
Okay.
Super easy. Well, easier than testing out all of our wrong answer choices.
So I guess, hold on. If both the silk dress and the gauze dress are on odd number hangers, I guess I got confused. So why were you asking again? Like for the letters you were asking me? For we were looking at 4 and 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we were looking at the odd numbers, right?
For S and G. So the question is saying if S and G are on odd number hangers. That's why we narrowed it down to 4 and 7, because that's where S and G are on odd numbers. None of our other worlds are they both on odd numbers. In all the other worlds, one of them is at least going to be on an even number. So for example, in number 1, we have S on 4.
Oh, okay.
We have G on 4. G, G, S, G. So we can't use 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 8 because at least one of them is going to be on an even hanger.
Okay. Okay, yeah, no, I get it now. I guess I was thinking of something else. Yeah. The wool dress is on hanger 2 because in 4 and 7 it's on 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even though it's happening in both the worlds in this game, in this question, it just has to happen in one of them for it to be correct. So if, let's just say hypothetically, we actually had P on hanger 2 and W on 5, it's still the correct answer choice because we still have W on 2 in our 7th world. Just has to happen once for it could be true.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Any other questions on that question?
No, I think I got it now.
Okay. Let's go to question 3.
So if
the
silk dress,
if the silk dress is on an even number hanger, which one of the following could be on the hanger immediately to its left? So again, it's giving us another if, right? So first thing we got to do when we see an if is narrow down which worlds we can use. So where could we have the silk on an even hanger? Where does that happen?
It happens on 1, on 6, and just those
Yeah.
2.
Those are the only two. So those are the only two worlds we can use for this question. Which one of the following could be a hanger immediately to its left? So again, it's just a could be true, just has to happen once. And we're talking about the left. So we're talking about basically, wow, in both those worlds, S is on 4. Kind of interesting.
So I'm talking about 1, 2, or 3, right? Is that to the left?
Immediately to the left.
Oh, okay. So only 3. Okay. So W, the wool dress.
You just predicted your answer. So which answer choice is W?
E.
That's our answer.
Oh, okay.
You can totally predict answer choices like this.
Mm.
If there was something else here, like let's say there was actually, let's say this was R.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not going to exactly fit this answer or these questions, but we could then predict, okay, it's either going to be W or it's going to be R. And so when you go through your answer choices, you can look for, do I have W or R?
R.
That would be one of them. So,
Okay, I see.
any questions on that one?
No.
This is why we do worlds, because that took you 15 seconds to do.
Yeah.
A lot easier. Okay. Next one says, if the polyester dress is on hanger 2, which one of the following must be true? So we have a different question type, so must be true, but it's still giving us an if. So we got to figure out where P can be on hanger 2. Where can that happen?
4 or 6.
Yeah. Now, when you do this test on paper, I like to cover up my like flip-flopped variables, if that makes sense. So like when I'm looking at 4, I'm going to cover up W and 2 and P and 5. So that way, yeah. That way I can visually see a little bit clearer, because this is where the mental gymnastics comes into play.
Right.
He's going to be in 2, which is going to force W to be in 5. And sometimes that's important to the question.
Okay.
So must be true. It's different than it could be true. Must be true means it has to happen in all the worlds that we're looking at. So in this case, because we're only looking in 2 worlds, has to happen in both of them. So in order for it to be our correct answer choice, that answer choice has to happen in both those worlds.
Okay. So the silk dress is on hanger 1. No. The wool is on 3. Oh, you said both worlds, right? Okay, so
Both
no.
worlds.
Linen on 4. Linen on 5. It's E.
Yeah, because R on 6 is happening in both those worlds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the difference between the could be true and a must be true. Must be true is harsh. It's hard. 100% has to happen. Has to be in all the worlds. So this case, we're looking at 2. If I also was looking at 1 and 2 and let's say 7, has to happen in all of those worlds that we're looking at.
Okay.
Could be true, just has to happen in 1. Think about how like heavy must be true sounds and how light could be true sounds. So that's the difference between the two. The good thing is you're going to have those on every single game. So you're going to have plenty of time to practice that, because sometimes it takes students a little bit to remember what the difference is between the two. But just think about how harsh that language is.
Okay. Okay.
Any questions on that?
No.
The other thing I want to show you with this one, yeah, it happens in this situation. So if it's a must be true, means it has to happen in both the worlds, right?
Uh-huh.
So what you can do is you can predict this answer choice, kind of like you did that could be true,
Mhm.
except what we're looking for is consistency between the two. So I can look through the two of these worlds and see, okay, well, what's happening in both of them? In this case, we know that R is going to be in 6. There's another thing that must be true between both those worlds. Do you see what it is?
S and L have to be together, or
They do, but that's also a rule, and they're not going to give you that if it's a rule.
okay.
It's kind of a easy one. But there's a placement of our variables that have to be true in both those worlds. One other variable is consistent.
Oh, is it S and W for
No,
3? Mm, P and W?
no. Well, unless you're looking at this, but again, if P is in 2, that's our giving answer,
Oh
giving
yeah.
question. So they're not going to give you that. Look at
Oh, that one. Okay.
G has to be in 1 in both of them. That's another thing that must be true in this question because it's happening in both of those worlds. It's not an answer choice, but it could be an answer choice.
Oh, okay. But where does G come into place, like with the question?
It
Or
does.
oh, okay, I see. So if there was so for example, if E, it said the G, right? What is it?
Mhm.
Gauze dress, that would be the answer.
Yeah. So if
Right.
it's a G's on hanger 1, that would be another answer.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
So
But in this case, it'd be E because R is, yeah, okay.
yeah.
Got it.
So just showing you how you could predict this answer choice.
Mhm.
And that goes for any must be true because it's going to be consistent in all of those worlds that you're looking at. So you can look through and see what's consistent.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
No.